Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO, Mr. Zach Stanley.
2 more days. 2 more days, baby.
Oh.
And we are watching football live.
Except it'll be poor football because it'll be preseason.
Really good football.
And you'll get 1 quarter of exciting and then nothingness.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
It's better than nothing.
It is.
Yeah.
And then you get to see, who's could be good and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is true. That man you just heard was Nick Steblenko, Teddy Bear 2. What's up, Nick?
I am absolutely excited for this. I know it's going to be atrocious for 3/4 of the football game, but it's better than not watching.
Well,
Didn't Victor Cruz have his coming out party in the preseason?
Did he really?
He had he had a
2 years
3
ago?
touchdown game 2 years ago.
Oh, that makes sense. All right, today, I just warn you now, listeners, we are talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars, so it is a giant leap of faith to talk about them.
Why don't we just talk about all of the luxury items that you can put on your Jaguar? Because that might actually be more entertaining.
I made my first pun and you didn't say anything. I made one. Nobody. You don't care.
What was it?
I said a giant leap of faith. Leap.
Why? Because Jaguars leap?
No, leap as in Marquise Lee. I just added the P.
Oh, come on. That was worse than mine yesterday.
Well, there's nothing. Shut up. You all can do things that are inappropriate for air that I can't talk about because this is a PG show. Yeah, think about it.
Star Fantasy League's headquarters is not located in the hood. Ziggy Hood.
Oh.
See, that's better.
How about you just choose some actual good play? Because there aren't any on this team. None.
And thanks to you, Mr. Robinson. Allen Robinson.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Denard Robinson.
Nah, Denard Robinson's irrelevant.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because I have a giant feeling that most of what we talk about is going to be irrelevant from both a real-life standpoint in football and a fantasy standpoint because the 2014-15 Jacksonville Jaguars are a sad sack.
I'm not cheering for you, though, London. I'm not cheering for you.
What, to get the team?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
But we all know that Jerry Jones is.
Why?
Because he's all about the dollar bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would expand the team all over the place. He'd put a team in Russia if he could.
And he would definitely move the Bills.
Yep, he would. He would definitely move the Bills.
You know
Not
what?
Terry.
It's all about the bottom line.
I
Terry, baby.
personally hope they move the Bills to Rochester. It would never. It
yep,
doesn't
that
even
would
make
never
sense.
happen.
It doesn't make any sense.
Maybe they'll move it to Alex's place in Batavia.
There we go.
All right, but before we get into these Jacksonville Jaguars, because let's be honest, we want to delay the inevitable talking about this team as long as possible. Any news from the Buffalo Bills? Since you want to talk about the Bills every day, I'm going to let you.
Sammy Watkins is a dominant beast.
Okay,
Sammy
that's not
Watkins
news. That's
is
obvious.
Still just
News to some people.
making it rain out there. From what I've seen and heard, a lot of improvements from E.J. Manuel right now.
Really?
Yeah, Marty Schottenheimer was at practice a couple days ago. So was Chris Collinsworth, actually. And they were both very complimentary of his efficiency, the speed that he throws his ball at, and just accuracy. He's been looking good.
He's been working hard.
Here's the big question. Did Chris Collinsworth actually run a route for him?
Well,
That would have been
considering
pretty awesome if he did.
I used to have a good Chris Collinsworth voice, but I don't. I gotta listen to him again.
No,
kind of has that weird little that's like a high pitched.
You know, you gotta
deep throat.
you gotta love Brett Favre. He goes out there and he just the gunslinger mentality.
Something like that.
Yeah, not bad.
That's actually pretty decent.
Thanks.
All right, on that note, E.J. Manuel, let's hope he's pretty good for your Bills' sake.
He needs to be. He is the vital piece.
Well, but why are people putting his feet to the fire this year? I don't understand that.
Win now
He's a
mentality.
second-year quarterback. Same thing with Geno. My boy
No.
Geno.
How did you end up we're done with the Jets. We're talking about all 32 NFL teams here on the Star Fantasy League show. Surprisingly, this segment's going to last 32 days. Can you believe it?
Heck yeah.
It's going to last 32 days. We're on our third division. We're talking about Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, they're a team.
They're you know what I found out in doing research? They're an NFL team. Did you know that?
Which is odd.
I
you
thought
would
they
think.
were. I actually
How
thought
did they
were-
manage to get 4 wins?
I thought they were in the SEC last year. I honestly thought they were part of the SEC, and they just won like 4 games, and they're like, oh, okay, you're 4-8.
Yeah, I think Nick Saban would take the challenge to put Alabama against them.
And they'd win. Alabama would win.
Well, probably not. That's probably not true.
Yeah, I know. Fine. Just humor me.
I really don't know. I'm looking at this. I didn't actually look up the games last year. How they won 4 games, I have no idea.
They started the season 0-8. They barely won a couple. They won against Houston. They barely won some of their games. They beat Tennessee. I think that was their first win. This was a bad team.
They started the season 0-8.
Yeah, their first game was against Tennessee. I was
They
right.
won against Tennessee, Houston, Cleveland.
None of their
and
wins
Houston.
were by more than 7 points.
No, last season, in 14 of their 16 games, they gave up more than 20 points. This defense might have been one of the worst overall defenses I've seen in a while. They were 27th overall, 29th against the run, 25th against passing. They were pretty freaking
They were
bad.
abysmal.
And on offense, it doesn't get any better. They're 31st on offense.
Well, I think that's where the storyline starts because we know this team isn't going to do anything. They're not going to make a splash. The draft is their storyline. What were they doing? I really don't agree with their approach to the draft. I think they should have focused on defense and then worried about offense some other time.
You know what the funny thing is? You always manage to almost always when we're doing this, you bring up the biggest question for the team right off the bat. You don't even give me time.
I'm sorry.
All right, let me
ask away.
let me ask it because we have a biggest offseason question for all these teams, and for the Jaguars is: did the Jaguars make a mistake drafting Blake Bortles? I can't even get his name right. Blake Bortles, and passing on Sammy Watkins and Khalil Mack to do it.
I think passing on Khalil Mack just because of the needs for this team, absolutely. I think there's so many more questions. Like there's just why are you drafting a quarterback and sitting him for an entire year?
Well,
I don't understand. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with it either. When you're taking the guy 3rd overall, you're looking forward to the future of your franchise. You're not going to put a winning team on the field this year, so why don't you just get him out there and let him learn?
When the Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers, they knew they had a starting quarterback in Brett Favre. They knew that. They took the best player available. They said, you know what? We know that Brett Favre is going to be retiring soon. This team has nobody. Chad Henne is a perennial backup quarterback. You're not going to win with him.
Offensive coordinator Jed Fish said that Bortles is well ahead of where he expected him to be coming into camp, so that's kind of nice.
But they're just saying that they're going to stick with it.
They're still saying that they're going to stick with it. And this was one of those drafts where it was like there weren't any quarterbacks really that you were keeping that in the top 5 that you thought should be picked.
Well, that we thought should be picked. Everybody thought Johnny Manziel should have been the number 1 overall everything.
I was
just
very
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was not surprised when Manziel fell to where he did. I
thought that was perfect. I thought it was great. And I thought it was very befitting that he went to Cleveland.
I wouldn't have been surprised if Bortles fell further too. Whether he ends up being the future of this team or not, it was pretty shocking.
See, but here's no. You know what? I don't think that he should. If you're gonna draft him, that's fine. They needed a quarterback, so you're going after the guy that you think is the guy, just like the Bills did. They went after E.J. Manuel. Everybody else thought Geno Smith was the guy. They're going after their guy. That's fine. Put him in there, though. Let him learn. You got to learn. Go School of Hard Knocks. Sorry.
Well, this isn't. Let's be honest.
Thank goodness the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't on Hard Knocks.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
I would not watch.
No. I don't think this is a good situation for a rookie, no matter how talented. Like, if you put Andrew Luck on this team, I feel like he'd have a hard learning curve because there's just not talent on this team.
Well,
sure, they're getting some. They have problems.
I think Andrew Luck could be successful anywhere.
But I'm saying, I think it'd be a harder learning curve than it would be going to Indianapolis.
Sure,
at least you have
because
some
he has
veteran
Reggie
pieces.
Wayne.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I guess, but
He was Andrew Luck was one of the most NFL ready.
Yeah.
Top prospects in the last 10 years.
The big thing is, like, they drafted Blaine Gabbert over J.J. Watt, which, again, speaks to take the best player available. Stop trying to go, you know what, we need a quarterback. Go out and get one.
They forced the issue.
Yeah, that's
they
what I'm
did
saying.
it again.
The drafting is bad, although they did get some interesting pieces in the draft. Marquise Lee and Allen Robinson, both of whom have injury concerns.
I don't call him J.J. Watt. I call him J.J. Swab.
Of course you do.
I feel like this team's going to be kicking themselves again on passing up on Khalil Mack. They could have paired him with Paul Posluszny, one of the premier tacklers in the game. Why not?
Well,
bolster your defense. They did okay in free agency by getting their defensive line a little help.
They did
really okay. Come on, they did better. No, Red Bryant, Chris Clemens both played for the Seahawks last year. Now they have 2 defensive ends that can rush, but they're over 30. So, it does well for right now. It doesn't do well for the future. So then get a guy like Khalil Mack, and it's like, oh, man, now we have a piece of the puzzle that will stick on this defense for a long time.
I agree with you. If you're a bad team, getting the best player available, I don't care if he's a flashy player. Like they went with an offensive, they went with a tackle last year, didn't they?
Yeah,
Luke Jokel?
Yeah.
Good player, although they said last year not living up to expectations. But you're playing on a line that's broken.
I'm always a fan of taking somebody on the offensive line in the first round. I think if your team is just an absolute shambles, where do you start? Right in the trenches.
Yeah,
it's
the most overlooked building block for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Always vital. You can't build a run game. You can't build a passing game without a good line.
Yep.
So what do we think about what they actually added? You mentioned defense. They added a couple Seattle Seahawks, which obviously is going to help because their third string guys were better than most of the players on the Jaguars last season.
Yeah, that's true.
And then on offense, they added, Toby Gerhart, perennial backup to
they needed something. I know that Toby Gerhart is not phenomenal, but they needed something. They lost Maurice Jones-Drew. I don't think Jordan Todman is a guy that can carry the load.
You know what the funniest part? On their depth chart right now, guess who the third running back is listed on this depth chart? It's Denard Robinson. Yes, wide receiver Denard Robinson is their third running back.
Hey, he can do it all.
I loved watching him in college.
Yeah, in college it was
fun.
Great.
In the pros, I think he had less than 100 total yards last year.
I'm surprised that he's still on a team, really.
Well, I
on a
think
rookie contract.
I really, if he was playing on a good team, I think he could probably factor in on like special teams and maybe come in a slot receiver role, but not on the Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean the Marquise Lee pick is interesting. He's going to get a lot of opportunities regardless. Cecil Shorts already having more injury problems, which is not surprising at all.
This whole wide receiver, we're going to talk about it coming after the break.
Do not draft Cecil Shorts.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to be in agreement here that do not draft
anyone.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay,
Gerhart?
good.
You wouldn't take Gerhart?
Not where he's going.
I'm scared.
He's going to be a bell cow. They're going to feed him.
I know.
The ball.
Well, yeah, they're already saying he's going to be 20 to 25 touches per game.
And
they want him to be the workhorse. I just don't think he has the upside.
Yeah,
to dictate a third-round pick.
I'm a little scared of the 2014-15 Jacksonville Jaguars in general. Much like the New York Jets, who, again, you defended drafting people from the Jets, too. So
Eric Decker's going to see a ton of targets, so why wouldn't you draft him? If you can get him down low and later in the draft,
but I don't think you can.
Can't.
Yeah, you can't. That's the problem.
Yeah,
he's not going past like the fifth round.
I just didn't. No way. Oh my God.
I could have sworn he was in the fifth.
I did a draft today where he dropped to the 10th round.
Okay. No way.
That's
ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Hold on. Were you drafting with drunk children?
No, not drunk children, drunk adults.
The ones that I've seen, he's been like sixth.
All right, you guys. I feel like we're kind of jumping the gun here. I
feel like we're talking about other players because the Jaguars are so freaking boring.
I said if you wanted to tune out on today's Star Fantasy League show, you can because we are talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
We're just going to talk about football.
No, and we're going to talk about them for one more segment before we get to baseball, the trade deadline, and all of that good stuff. But coming up, more Jaguars talk. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
Guys, I just feel like the hate is going to roll in today on Star Fantasy League Show Twitter at SFL Show because we are talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know, Rochester, you don't care about the Jaguars, but there are 32 NFL teams, and we have to cover all of them, right?
We are talking about all of them. This just in, Arian Foster has injury problems, and he is not practicing. So
you do realize he's not on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, I just
none of the players we're going to talk about
it's
are
fantasy news relevant that just came out.
That is true. All right, we're not talking about fantasy implications just yet because this team is atrocious, but we are talking about the second biggest question from the offseason for these Jacksonville Jaguars, and it is, will missing Cecil Shorts, Justin Blackmon, and Ace Sanders really hurt Blake Bortles' development? Because let's be honest, this team last year started 0-8. They didn't really get that much better. I'm probably sure they're going to be like, 4-10, something ridiculous, and there is going to be pressure to start Blake Bortles, regardless of if they said they're not going to start him or not. But with this team in basically shambles, with all the injuries and these suspensions and this stuff, do you think he's in the best situation?
I think at this point he should plan on not playing with Justin Blackmon because apparently you can get a lifetime ban for marijuana. So that's, whatever.
That's another story for another day, but seriously.
Marquise Lee, though, I really do like him. I think that due to his injuries at his last year in college, he dropped. But this guy is a dynamic receiver, and having him, maybe he can develop a little bit of a rapport with him. I don't think Cecil Shorts is worth anything, really. I think they need to do better.
Cecil Shorts proved last year when he had the reins that he is a second banana. That's all he proved. He proved when Justin Blackmon was healthy, he was the guy, and Cecil goes, okay, I'll be the second guy. I'll be a second banana. I don't want to be the go-to guy. He proved he can't be that.
He just won't be.
This offense is so freaking miserable. I mean, I don't even know how they're going to win a game.
Wait, hold on, Zach. Can you tell us how you really feel about the Jacksonville Jaguars, please?
It's just looking at these people, like who they have on the roster.
These people?
There's nothing encouraging going on here.
What you mean, these people?
Yeah, what do you mean, these people?
Toby Gerhart, let's start there.
Chud. We're gonna, we're gonna use Major League Baseball terms. Chud.
Pretty much a lifetime backup guy up to this point, and he's coming
playing behind Adrian Peterson though.
Right, I know. I mean, he wasn't going to get the opportunity. Yeah, but I still wasn't wowed at him when he came in and played for Peterson. I wasn't like, this guy is definitely a future starter. He's like a Peyton Hillis upgrade. That's about all he is.
You think he's better than Peyton Hillis?
Well, not Peyton Hillis with that 1 year.
Yeah, the 1 year Peyton
Hillis. 1 year that got him on the cover of Madden.
Hey, whoa. Hold on. Peyton Hillis actually performed decently in his 3 weeks last season for the Giants. Do not forget that.
Yeah, everybody was running to the waiver wire to pick him up, and then that didn't work out.
Daily Fantasy on StarFantasyLeagues.com. He won some leagues for people. He did. He had like a 16 fantasy point week and just destroyed people.
Okay, well, that's talking about value to your fantasy team. We're talking about value to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And whether they should have decided to get a running back in the draft, I don't know. I think that could have been a decent idea. Given how late running backs are going right now, they could have gotten a future of their franchise type player, possibly with who ended up going and how they've shown in performing throughout camp so far, some of these guys.
I think it's pretty clear what they did with this draft. They really spent time on their next season because they already said they're not going to start Blake Bortles. Then they drafted Marquise Lee. Then they drafted Allen Robinson. They're trying to put a passing game together for, 2-3 years down the line.
But
I just don't think that that's a good strategy at all. I think he should have gone, like Zach said, put a running back in there then. You could have gotten a running back in the 3rd or 4th round that would have been much better than Toby Gerhart.
Well, why are they grabbing all these receivers when they basically have 6 receivers on their roster that could be decent? But how are we going to find out with this many guys?
But one of them is out indefinitely.
Okay,
so
right.
that's a big deal.
Justin
they
Blackmon
got
is just an absolute distraction.
But 2 guys are out. Don't forget, Ace Sanders is also suspended for the first 4 games for
but where does he factor? Where does he factor in on a playoff team?
He doesn't.
Okay, so that's what I mean.
But we're talking about this is not a playoff team. And
no, I know.
But
this is okay. What I'm getting at is they're trying to prepare for 3-4 years down the line, where maybe they could start to work their way back into playoff contention because they can't do it this year, and next year certainly doesn't look good. So Ace Sanders, does he really factor in?
Hopefully
not as much as Marquise Lee would. Marquise Lee would be a great number 2 to a guy like Justin Blackmon, who's not going to play for them.
No. I cannot imagine being a fan of this team. It's got to be intolerable.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of hope. I mean, even if you look at these picks, they're like, I don't know, they're kind of wishy picks.
Well, they get roped into the hype. They did the same thing with Blaine Gabbert. All of a sudden, Blaine Gabbert just came out of left field, and everybody's like, "Oh, wait a second, this is the dark horse. This is the underrated guy." Then all of a sudden, he's a number 1 guy, and they just bought right into it. They're a bunch of fools.
So you're saying if they had the number 1 overall pick this year, Johnny Manziel would have somehow gotten talked down? I know they drafted 3rd, but you're saying Johnny Manziel was the number 1 hype, so if they had the number 1 pick, maybe
no, they would have taken Blake Bortles again. That's what they did. So
I don't know. I'm saying they do listen to people for no reason.
Where did Blake Bortles come from?
This is what they've been doing for what we're talking about them doing for the next 3 years is what they've been trying to do for the last 5 years.
Yeah, it hasn't worked.
And it has not worked. Everybody that they get on defense, all of the star players that they get, they're not willing to pay for. They had an opportunity to get rid of Maurice Jones-Drew and get a good piece in there. Mm-hmm. They just let his time run out.
Yep.
I mean, the management job on this team is horrible.
They should go back to David Garrard, really, seriously, because that was when they actually had a shot.
Hey, remember, this team has been cursed since they had that playoff game in New England 10 years ago. Remember the Fog Bowl It was I think it was the AFC Championship game. They basically, or whatever, divisional round, they got slaughtered. It was foggy. It was a terrible day. They haven't won anything since then. That was a long time ago.
Well, was that the same year that they beat the Steelers in the playoffs? With Garrard, he ran the draw play at the end of the game to win the game.
I'm going to act like I know what you're talking about.
I remember it.
I do think that was...
I remember that. I just can't remember how long ago it was.
But
it was too long ago.
It was supposed to be Steelers-Patriots in the championship.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's why. Okay.
When you look at this,
terrible,
schedule, I mean, the teams that they're going up, it's not very good.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you look up and down the schedule,
they get to play Tennessee. They get to play Cleveland.
They could easily do the same thing that they did last year and start 0-8. They really could.
So Blake Bortles
I could see a couple of games maybe here or there where they might be able to pull off some sort of upset. They have San Diego in Week 4 because San Diego is so up and down in their existence. They have Tennessee in Week 6, Cleveland in Week 7. A couple of games where they might be able to eke out a win, steal one away from them. But other than that, they have Philadelphia, Washington, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh. They're done.
You said the right word. To win the game, they need to steal a game. That's the problem with this team. Either the defense needs to step up or something ridiculous needs to happen, like a big game from insert random wide receiver here, like a Mike Brown last year when he had those big couple outings and they
haven't had optimism since Jack Del Rio.
Yep.
They haven't had. Yeah, I did too. I thought he was great for them, putting together a decent team with a lot of not so great parts.
Particularly on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
He's a defensive guy, yeah. All right, we got to talk about, I know you guys don't want to do this, but for every team, we have to talk about fantasy outlook. I know you don't really want to do this, but all right, let's talk about Toby Gerhart. I personally think number 19 overall, these are all in PPR leagues, by the way. Average draft position, ADP is what we're talking about. He's rated as the 19th overall running back, going around 39th. That's the 4th round. I don't even want to look at this guy. I know he's going to be a workhorse, but what kind of workhorse can you have on a team like this that can't really block up front? Their line is
In PPR leagues, I'd rather draft Ray Rice.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, missing.
And Ray Rice is going 5 rounds later.
Yeah, but I still have a feeling that Ray Rice's stock is going to go up just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, but not to where Toby Gerhart's going. I mean, the only guys around him where I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'd take Gerhart. I might take Gerhart over Sankey, maybe.
All right, well, yeah,
I might take him over Matthews.
Okay.
Rashad Jennings, no.
Not Rashad Jennings, not Chris Johnson,
Pierre
not Joy
Thomas.
Bell. Maybe Pierre Thomas, just because I think that's going to be a mess.
Frank Gore, Ben Tate.
Yeah, what about somebody like Ben Tate, where you think I'm assuming he's getting most of the carries, but
these are okay. But here's my issue. Here's my only issue. A bunch of these that we talked about: Ryan Matthews, Pierre Thomas, Joique Bell. These guys they're in situations that they're not the number one guy. You know, if they are, then they have pressure right behind them. At least with Gerhart, you know that there's nobody that's really going to challenge him for 3-down work.
Wait, you don't think Jordan Chudman's going to? Todman.
Yeah,
Jordan
exactly.
Todman,
I really don't. I mean, I think here's a guy that you might actually see 250 to 300 carries. Easy.
But I mean,
how many 100-yard games do you think he'll have?
I don't know. Maybe 2.
Hold on. 1.5.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but at least you have a guarantee of some sort of opportunity.
But this team couldn't score the ball last season. Are you expecting to get more than...
It's just way too early for me. Yeah. I'm looking for upside. I'm looking for a guy that is going to catch the ball. He doesn't do that. He's not very versatile. Yes, he could get into a bell cow role, but how many times is this team going to be able to get in goal line situations? How often is that going to happen?
I mean, we ask that. I think we ask that all the time as fantasy owners, but they do put up some sort of points. I mean, if you look at last year, the ones where they actually
how many
won
touchdowns
all 4
did
games.
he have last year with Minnesota?
Well, come on, now you can't really.
No, I want to know.
All right, give me a second.
We'll look up that number, but let's talk about some wide receivers on this team because obviously the quarterback situation is not something we're touching. Henny, Bortles. Here's a real question: if this was a 3-quarterback fantasy league, would you still not take one of them?
Absolutely not.
3-quarterback league,
no.
3 teams.
If it was a 3-quarterback lead, I would stack quarterbacks early anyways. But
it was a joke. There's no such thing as a 3-quarter. Is there a 3-quarterback league?
No, well, not. I mean, that would be very rare.
Well, in the hypothetical, if
2. I wouldn't even touch Chad Henne in a 2-quarterback league at all.
No. Or
not
Bortles,
at all.
or anybody.
Last year in Minnesota, he had 36 rushes for 283 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, that's it, huh?
Yeah. Well, we told the Asiata played, remember, in those big games?
Yeah,
Gerhart
was hurt, yeah.
All right, let's talk about some wide receivers before we thankfully close out the Jacksonville Jaguars, because they are going to win 3 games, or 4 games, maybe, max.
2.
If you can bet in Vegas, if that were legal, you should probably put some money on the under, please.
Marquise Lee, maybe an ad really late if you're in like a 20-pick draft.
He's going in the 14th round right now in PPR.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people drafting him late, and I don't really understand it. I mean, unless you're in a Dynasty or Keeper League where you think that he's going to have some magnificent future.
He's going to be the number one this year. It's going to happen if he stays healthy.
So what?
That's true. I mean, okay, if he gets 800 yards, you get him in the 14th round.
I mean, he'll have some opportunities. I don't think he has a shot.
But I
don't think he has a shot in hell at getting 800 yards.
Really?
Really?
Wow. Okay.
You think it's a guarantee under 800?
630.
Okay.
I really
under
hope
650. All right. I mean, I do think he's worth a very late round flyer. Maybe like even your last pick. You might even take a kicker before him, but at the same time, you know you're going to have injuries during the season. It doesn't hurt to have a number one wide receiver. I know it's a rookie, and I know he doesn't have a lot of upside thanks to Chad Henne.
If you want a number one receiver, take Cecil Shorts in the 9th round according to average draft position right
The
now.
only thing that
joke.
Lee has going for him that might be worth a pick is that they're going to be playing behind all the time.
That's why their numbers at quarterback last year looked so good, because they played every game from behind, and their running backs were terrible.
Yeah.
All right, we are done with the 2014-15 Jaguars. Tune in tomorrow when we move on to the Houston Texans. Come after the break, we're talking baseball. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Donald, Teddy Bear 2, and the Deucey Moose. Only on the Team.
We apologize so much for having to talk all that time about the Jacksonville Jaguars, but we're finally done with that. We're talking baseball, starfantasyleagues.com. This is our bread and butter right now because it's not the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Even the bad teams get some airtime. You just got to rip them apart.
Yeah, that is fun. That's why I wish we could talk about the New York Jets every day. Oh, wait, no, I don't.
You know what, though? I mean, I wouldn't have so many bad things to say about them if they actually did something right to get better for the future.
Right, if it looked like the building blocks were in place.
Like,
Guys,
you draft a quarterback and you sit him for 16
What did I
weeks,
just say?
17 weeks?
Did I just say we were done with the Jaguars? Stop ripping into them. They're
We miss
so
you,
bad.
Jack Del Rio.
It's like kicking a baby.
Come back, Jack.
At this
Come back, Jack.
point, you're just kicking a child when he's down. It's not very nice. All right, let's talk about baseball. The trade deadline was yesterday. Zach got the news that David Price was traded to his Tigers in the middle of this show during a break. Jason came up, showed it to us through the window. It was actually a pretty funny moment because Zach was just kind of floored. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I would be
I mean, there was
floored as well.
there was no rumors about it happening, so
Nope, they played it cool.
I was like,
played
yeah,
it
let's
quiet.
try. I mean, you heard me when it said that Andrew Miller wasn't going to be taken.
Yeah, you're like,
they weren't going to get him. I'm like, oh, unbelievable. I thought we had it. And then all of a sudden Price comes out, and it's like, holy crap, this is going to be fun.
Now that this it's kind of calmed down, we've had 24 hours to process it. What do you think of the deal? Basically giving up Austin Jackson and kind of not really much more at all.
I think it's fantastic. I think that they hoped that Austin Jackson would progress a little bit more than he has. He's fast. He's a pretty good outfielder. But I just don't think that he was reliable enough, especially in a lineup that, well, the lineup needed him a lot more last year than they did this year. Mm-hmm. With J.D. Martinez coming out and making such a big impact at this point,
what a stud.
And you have Torrey Hunter and Rajai Davis out there, you didn't need that fourth outfielder, and they ended up shipping him out, and it worked out great. Drew Smiley, I could care less.
I have a question.
I did really like Austin Jackson, so that was a little bittersweet. But
I have a question. Are the Tampa Bay Rays a bunch of idiots? Are they just a bunch of morons?
The ownership refuses
Why?
to spend money. They don't make enough money.
They didn't get anything.
they don't have any. They don't have any money.
Make any money.
They didn't get anything for Price.
It doesn't matter. The whole thing is
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
If they had a better deal on the table, they would have taken it.
Well,
That's the thing.
no. He's locked up through next season.
Yeah.
Why did they get rid of him right now?
Because the offers would have gone down next season.
Isn't this kind of?
So just they didn't get anything. They got nothing. They got Drew Smiley and a chud infielder. They got nothing good. I thought it was ridiculous. They should have done this 3 months ago. Then they should have done something way better than this.
I don't disagree.
After Lester and Gomes go for Cespedes, come on, they're stupid. They're dumb.
Well, yeah, the Cespedes deal was clearly much, much better, and I think that they caught them at the right time and put the Rays in a desperate situation where they had to move him. And so they were
Yeah,
able to get a good deal.
They're
guess
for him.
certainly
so.
not going to pay him.
I guess so.
When you make it known that your team famously doesn't spend any money, they always turn their roster over every couple of years.
Like Oakland?
Yeah, but Oakland doesn't take chances on these ridiculous plays. They don't make it. It's sort
What
of
do you
the-
mean?
it is sort of the same
Oakland
situation.
is known for that. They made a movie about
Right,
Oakland.
Detroit just got him for a year
dollar.
plus, and Oakland is just going to take Lester and then ship him out.
Yep.
And then he's going to re-sign with Boston.
Yeah, we can hope.
In my dream world.
Very hopeful.
We can hope. All right. So who do you think actually won the trade deadline?
I think Detroit, Oakland, and Boston all big winners. I really do. I mean, Boston, they knew that the season was over. God rest their soul. And
Wow, that was a eulogy for the Red Sox.
sorry. And we like to thank everybody for coming.
Yeah, really.
But I think they did great. They got a guy that, and I misspoke yesterday because Cespedes is not locked up till 2017. It must have been a typo there.
2015.
But they did get him for another year, and then they do have a chance to sign some big names in the offseason. They also got Alan Craig, who is a 300 hitter. He hasn't had a good season.
Again, going from the NL in St. Louis
Yep.
at a pitcher's ballpark to Boston. Anytime you come to Boston, it's always advantageous to hitters.
Absolutely. And then they did the Andrew Miller trade was really intriguing. They got a great prospect pitcher who is supposedly going to be a good pitcher, a good starting pitcher within the next year or two. So they did it straight up. So I was never a big fan of Andrew Miller. I didn't think he was that good.
Good. I mean, yeah, I agree. I think Boston made the right decisions, cutting ties because it just wasn't going to happen this year. Oakland is in a win-now mentality. They have the young pieces together at affordable prices that they were able to put together a winning team. This is their year, or this is boom or bust right now.
But I think the biggest question is, do you think giving up Cespedes is going to be
I think it was huge.
I
I think it was huge, and I think it was detrimental. I think they could have won the World Series, or at least had a chance to win the World Series without making this trade. I think that Chavez was a guy that could definitely be relied upon in the playoffs.
Yeah, out of the rotation now, basically.
I don't know. I mean, I think
just don't know how much
Lester's value is I think it's more than Cespedes. I really do. I mean, you look at this guy. I mean, his regular season numbers are much different than his playoff numbers.
Although he's been really good in the regular season this year.
He has been really good in the regular season, but when he comes to the playoffs, he's a shutdown guy. He is unbelievable. He has the best ERA for a starting pitcher that has pitched more than 20 innings in the World Series in history.
But is it so much of a boost that you lose Cespedes, who you would have had for all of next year? Does that really make it worth it? I guess it remains to be
this
seen.
year. This
I
is
guess
it.
it remains
This
to
is
be
a win
seen
and win
because
now.
if you look at the rosters of both the Tigers and the Athletics right now, they're going to go toe to toe.
It's gonna be a 7-game.
We're all praying that there's no injuries because we need to see that
Let's
series.
pencil it in
Need
for a
to see it.
7-game series. Let's just do it. Let's just do it right now.
I really hope so. That
All
would
right.
be so good.
Let's move on. We got to talk about daily fantasy baseball on StarFantasyLeagues.com. For Friday, you got just over an hour to set your lineups for tonight. 15-game slate, nice big slate to talk about. Certainly some chud pitchers to deal with, which is exciting for us because that means we get to talk about stacking.
Yay.
Stacking is when you put anywhere from 2 to 4 players in your roster on StarFantasyLeagues.com. 4 is the maximum. So let's talk about some stacks, Zach. Ooh, I like that. Stack, Zach.
You want to take a guess at this one?
Detroit.
Detroit.
Oh, what a surprise.
I am stacking the Tigers. Guys with awesome WOBA versus lefties. Victor Martinez, one of the best in the league. And Rajai Davis, who has a WOBA of .425, second on the team. Even Nick Castellanos, who's sitting there at 5,100, he's third on the team with Austin Jackson gone against lefties with a .365 WOBA. And, I think they're in really good shape against Franklin Morales, who is just what? I mean, he's 2 home runs per 9 innings versus
he's one of the highest.
2 home runs per 9 innings.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the stack of the night across the board. There's really no doubt. I mean, Morales is he just lofts it right up over the plate.
Here's the big problem I'm having with tonight because I want to put in a lot of Detroit guys against Morales because they have a lot of home run pop in this lineup.
Where's
you
the
have
value?
to find a lot of value elsewhere, which I think you can do tonight. I found it, but pitchers, I couldn't find any pitching value I actually like because last night I went on a limb and got cream puffed.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of guys that have actually performed pretty well against the teams that they're facing tonight. Jonathan Niese actually does pretty well against San Francisco. Niese?
It's Jonathan, too, because he spells
Jonathan?
his name
Jonathan.
wrong. He spells his name with an O, like it's with an A.
All right, so John Niese.
Yeah.
He's done pretty well against San Francisco, and actually Wei-Yin Chen against Seattle is not a bad look.
I
know he's not
that.
going to be fantastic, but Seattle's not hitting well. they've dropped off. You know, they were locked in for a wild card spot, and they really just reeled right off.
Whoops. All right, let's talk about another stack that you're interested in. We got to get some kind of value in here, right?
Yeah, I like Cleveland. I really do. I mean, against Jerome Williams, I think you could put in Brantley, Carlos Santana, Kipnis, and Chisenhall. I mean, if you want to keep that Detroit stack in there, then maybe you don't put in Brantley. But
again, Santana's been on a roll. Another guy you have to put in from this lineup if you want ultimate value. The minimum he batted second last night and actually had a pretty good game. Jose Ramirez is filling in for Asdrubal Cabrera, traded to the Nationals. Ramirez can get you some really nasty value right
Definitely.
there. Like him quite a bit. I actually agree with you. I think that is the stack of the night. So
Detroit or Cleveland?
No, Cleveland. I think Cleveland is the stack of the night if you can get him in there.
No way.
You mean value stack of the night or stack of the night?
I'm saying for the money. Because I don't think you're going to be able to afford all 4 Detroit guys you want to get in there.
I'm going to.
Well, I think there's a couple of other guys out there that you might. I mean, Chris Capuano is pitching for the Yankees.
Yeah,
and
I saw
you
that
could
too.
Definitely. He's a lefty. You can find a couple of guys on Boston that might help you out. If David Ross or Christian Vasquez, whoever plays they're cheap.
I think you have better upside if Vasquez does play from an offensive standpoint. David Ross is basically just a catcher. That's what he is
he is a catcher. He is indeed a catcher.
You know what I mean? The catcher who goes in there, it's like the Molina guys, the other brothers.
The other Molina.
They go in there, they catch, and then when they come to the plate, you just go, strikeout.
Well, I got one more place that you can look, and it might be iffy, but Atlanta is playing San Diego, and Eric Stoltz is just miserable.
Oy.
Yeah. So don't usually advocate for the other Upton, but
the Upton brothers. Maybe.
DJ Upton might be a good way to go tonight. I mean, he's 5,100. He does have the ability to score. He just strikes out a ton. So if he doesn't strike out 3 times, he might actually get a few hits, find a way to get across the plate. And then Andrelton Simmons is at 5,600. So
I mean,
strike
out a lot myself.
Huh?
Well, I had a lot of strikeouts in my day.
It happens. Things happen. Yeah. All right, we got to talk about some pitchers because we talked about you need to get some value only because there's a certain man at the top of this plate called Chris Sololo.
AWOL Nation, baby.
Stop that.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been an absolute powerhouse. If you look at the numbers, it looks like he might have the slight advantage for the Cy right now.
Yeah.
Over King Felix. If you look at the numbers, that's what it looks like.
It's a good thing they're not in the NL because Clayton Kershaw already bought a trophy case to hold his Cy Young. It's already there.
Yeah, it's over.
It's already there.
Chris Sale has a 1.88 ERA. Clayton Kershaw has a 1.71.
Yeah.
I mean, there would be those people out there like Nick Steblenko who might actually advocate for the AL pitchers in this situation. Shout out to you, Nick.
Oh, my God. That's the first time he's ever shouted himself out.
He just did a shout-out to himself.
That's embarrassing. All right, so obviously we're all on sale. He's pitching against Minnesota at home. Thank you. Can I have some more? You're expensive. He's $21,000.
It still seems like a gift.
It's a gift.
It's just wrapped up. Going up in that matchup, in that, We
said Kershaw for $23,000 yesterday, and he proved he's fine. He got 15 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So
I was very pleased with that.
Yeah, yep. He's perfectly fine. I didn't get anything else right that night. I personally wouldn't go with Adam Wainwright. You're saving $3,000, but hate the matchup.
Agreed. Completely agree.
Where are we going if we want to save some money on pitchers?
Oh, I know where I'm going.
Oh, he knows.
The Fist Man?
Verlander.
Justin Verlander.
Stop it. You're off the show.
Justin Verlander.
Kick him out.
Who has dipped below 10,000. It's the night of 90.
Below.
It's the night of 9,700 for me. 9,700 Cabrera, 9,700 Victor Martinez, 9,700 Verlander, and going up against the woefully injured Rockies. I think he's got an opportunity to have an absolute gem tonight. He is a stud, and he is about to come into his own.
Verlander's been hanging out with the third Upton too much, okay? It's just getting in the way. Everything's getting in the way. It's just not okay.
Everything is indeed getting out of the way. I love Doug Fister. I think he has some pretty good value against Philadelphia. As you mentioned earlier, Chen could be great.
Yeah, I think you got to put it either Chen or Neeson.
Or what about Dan Herron, too, going up against the Cubs?
Yeah, that's another good matchup.
I'd also like to mention Justin Verlander is a great option.
Coming off the break, we will not be mentioning anything about Justin Verlander. I can promise you that. We're giving you all our top plays of the day for Friday. Zach's excluded, and you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
Guys, we did it. We managed to make it through a show seriously talking about one of the worst teams in the NFL. We did it. Jacksonville Jaguars, you're done. I did mention earlier we'd be talking about the Houston Texans tomorrow. I slipped up.
None will be.
I slipped up.
It's okay. That
Up.
happens.
We
get so excited to do the show again.
I just want to keep doing it. Monday we'll be talking about the Houston Texans. Tomorrow I will personally be talking about the Texans, but it'll be at Park Ave Fest.
I'm very confident there will be no worse team to talk about than the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's all uphill from here.
Really?
That might be
Think
close.
Nobody's worse? You think they're dead last?
I think they'll be last in the league,
From a
yes.
fantasy perspective, too, I think they could be the worst.
I see.
Might happen.
All right, who's going to be last?
We're talking. No,
Who plays more games, Toby Gerhardt or Arian Foster?
we're not talking.
Gerhardt.
That might be true. All right, we got
Draft them, baby.
We got to talk about top value plays, top pitching, top batting, all that for Star Fantasy League. It's just over an hour to set your lineups for tonight for Major League Baseball. We're giving everything to you, and Zach's starting us out, as always.
Victor Martinez is my hitter of the day.
Wow, you really went on a limb there.
.483.
Do we ever really go out on that big of a limb?
WOBA.
Hey, I occasionally pick some
I'm
weird
telling
guys.
the people.
Okay, go ahead.
And a 1.136 OPS, which is just ridiculous. And my value is going to be Nick Castellanos, who's third in OPS versus lefties on the team, surprisingly enough, at 5,100. And, oh, yeah, Justin Verlander at 9,700.
I'm sorry, America.
They got no bats on that team right now. He's going to have a cakewalk tonight. Not a lot of strikeouts coming, which is a little.
He's going to eat cake with Kate Upton.
He hasn't been getting a lot of strikeouts, which is
all right,
pretty
Nick,
shocking.
Nick, continue this parade of non-Justin Verlander mentions.
All right, I'm going to go somewhere completely different, and I'm going to say Paul Goldschmidt. He's going to be my batter of the day. Edinson Volquez sucks. He's terrible. And I think Goldie is going to dom him. So
I love that.
He's going to dominate him.
Love it.
I think he has it written down there. Goldie will dom.
Goldie will dom.
I see it on your rundown. I got it.
It's value play. It's either David Ross or Christian Vasquez, whoever plays. They're both relatively cheap. Ross being the minimum, Vasquez at 4,300. I guess I'll say Chris Sale, but I think we're going to be in agreement there.
Yeah.
So, if you want to go with something more valuable, I would go with John Neese. I really think he'll have a good game against San Francisco. Got to find some value if you want to put Chris Sale in there.
All right, I'm a little upset here. I had my value play as Jose Ramirez for Cleveland. The lineup just came out for the Indians as I was talking, which is great. He's not in the lineup somehow. Mike Aviles is in there instead at shortstop. So I'm going to go with Bryce Harper as my value play of the day, going up against Roberto Fausto Hernandez Carmona III. He's not good at all, and he's a righty, so I'll take a lefty against that any single day. His value is still down there. Top player of the day, let's go with Jose Abreu against Logan Darnell. No thanks. 20-game hitting streak. He's been on fire recently.
Darnell.
I'll deal with it. I'm going to go with an out-of-the-box stack. I said I loved Cleveland. They're my top. But if you want a value stack I didn't mention earlier, go with Arizona. A lot of lefties in there. I think you can get a lot of value. You mentioned Goldschmidt. But Didi, Peralta, Ender Inciarte, a lot of those guys are cheap lefties, and I like putting them in. So do it. And top pitcher of the day, let's not mention Chris Sale because he's so obvious. I'm going to go with Doug Fister.
Yeah, I like that one too.
That Philadelphia team, you mentioned perpetually overpaid Ryan Howard, so he's probably going to hit a dong tonight. Go figure.
Well,
I mentioned it. I mentioned how bad he was. I went out of my way.
Zach, do you like Doug Fister?
Yeah, I had some good times with Doug Fister.
Do you like Doug Fister more or Annie Sanchez?
Both.
Who do you like more?
Obviously, Anibal Sanchez because he's on the Tigers.
He's one of those guys who's currently on the team.
Could have kept Fister.
All righty, we're talking about Star Fantasy Leagues. Just go to starfantasyleagues.com, play daily fantasy baseball. Get ready for daily fantasy football. It's coming.
I'm already doing prep work.
You should be. It's time. You're already late.
A lot of good analysis coming from this show for fantasy football.
That is true. Starting Monday, it's going to be Houston Texans talk. I'm so excited. No, I'm not. I could care less about the Texans.
There's some stuff to talk about. Yeah.
There's always some stuff to
always
talk
reason
about.
to be optimistic if you're not the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, tweet us at SFL Show. Get $5 free in your account. Just give us your username. And if you are absolutely tired of hearing Justin Verlander's tired, awful arm talked about on this show, me too. Take it easy, guys.
Go Verlander.